to this discussion. Yeah.
Thanks, Mehran. Thanks, Farah, Danny. Hi. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone also.
Yeah. So I'll get started. We have a few questions, and then we can after that we'll after the panel discussion we'll have a keynote presentation from Loyalytics as well as Databricks talking more in depth about how retailers can leverage new technologies, tools, and solutions in order to devise their strategy for 2025. Before that, would like to start with panel. Uh, First, as we are in this data and AI age, right? And everyone is talking about AI solutions, but at the core of AI, we believe that data is, of course, one of the key areas that people need to focus on, right? And now, when we talk about data, often retailers we see that the data is fragmented or is in silos, and that is a common problem that all of us agree upon and have seen across multiple retailers across not just in Southeast Asia or Indonesia, but across multiple regions, right? So I'd love to hear your thoughts, Ahmar, Danny, Farah, on how retailers can leverage technology in order to ensure that the data is not fragmented, and how do they ensure they get a single customer view and what they can do out of this.
Sure,
Yeah.
Mehran. Maybe I can take a stab at it first. First of all, thank you, Mehran and the rest of the team for organizing this. So, really happy, really excited to be here today. Very good morning to all the attendees as well. Thank you everyone for taking out time on a weekday, to come and listen to us talk about data, AI, and everything retail. So, really happy to be here with all of you. Miran, I think we couldn't have kind of started this discussion or this conversation with anything better than what you said, right? Which is around data and the importance of data in the world of AI as we know it, and how can retailers basically get past this very first stage, so as to say, right? Um, so I think you alluded to it earlier on as well, that data is core to anything that we are trying to do with AI, or even analytics and data science, right? And especially for businesses, for retailers who are just about thinking of starting their analytics slash AI journey. I think it becomes all the more imperative and important for them to have a robust data strategy before they can even think of doing something, or getting some benefits for the business, right? Before I delve into what can they do, or what should businesses kind of focus on, I just want to take a minute or so around what are the common data challenges that we see, right, when we as Loyalytics work with retailers across the globe, in terms of defining their analytics strategy. What are some of the common data challenges that we see? And I would love for the audience to pitch in as well, and ask us questions as we are discussing this, because at the end of the day, we all want to learn from each other, right? In our experience, again, data is in silos, especially enterprise retail. They would have a lot of data. The problem is really not with the quantity of data. The problem is actually with the quality of data, right? They have lots of data. Every business, every vertical in retail, be it merchandising, sales, finance, right, customer service, every department is producing data, but they're all in silos, right? They do not necessarily talk to each other, right? There are issues with inventory reconciliation of, let's say, inventory data between stores and e-commerce, right? Missing product attributes. We were recently doing a pricing optimization project for a very big retailer here in Middle East, and what we figured out that basic product attributes were missing, right? Now, if you don't have that, there is no way on earth that you would be able to really build a very robust pricing optimization solution, right? For example, issues with promotion data, right? They're not really storing what sort of promotions have they run? Have these promotions really been profitable? So, I can go on and on and on, right? What is the solution to all of this? I think the solution to all of this is what we call as an enterprise data platform, right? A cloud native, cloud first EDP sort of a platform that can help retailers bring all of this varied data together from their legacy databases systems over to cloud, right? And then, of course, with the necessary guardrails of data governance, data quality, data security. And to do all of that is where I would mention, a platform like Databricks comes in very, very handy, right? Because that is where it makes it quite easy for businesses and retailers particularly to be able to kind of start off their journey and building up their EDP, or in some cases, their CDP as well, which is your customer data platform, right? So I would say that is the first starting point. And of course, we can delve deeper into each of the different components of EDP and, talk more about governance, security, integrations, right? How do we do all that? But I would love to, of course, hear my co-panelists' thoughts, both Farah and Dari, on what they think about that.
Thanks, Ahmar. And thanks everyone for joining today. I really appreciate your time. As Ahmar said, they're the beginning of a busy week, of course, and also right into the peak of the holiday season that's coming up. I know you're spending a lot of time preparing for that. So again, thank you so much for your time today. And also, as mentioned, the data is siloed. I work for a number of companies here in Indonesia. I've been here for 21 years, also in the US and in China for a couple of years. And the data is siloed. It's in multiple, as I call, file cabinets. Most companies are using that Excel to slice and dice the data. So it's not all connected. And with this siloed approach that most companies are using, the different departments, whether it's marketing, inventory management, finance, operations, they're not speaking to each other, basically. Therefore, it's not only siloed, it's very fragmented data. The source of the data is also suspect because the quality of the data is not cleaned up in most cases, especially when it comes to your customer data, because everyone wants to say, I've got millions and millions of customers. They're active in my database, but yet, end of the day, there's a lot of duplicates there. There's also a lot of inactive customers. So no one wants to clean it up because they like to brag they've got X number of customers in their database. And one of the things that Ahmar mentioned earlier that's extremely important, don't just jump into trying to, I guess, use AI or BI, et cetera. You've got to have a strategy. And that strategy, in all of my years of working in retail, which is decades, it's very difficult to do that internal. You can do it, but it takes years and years to develop it, to clean it up, et cetera. When there's media opportunities out there like Databricks, that can offer you that opportunity to clean it up pretty quickly and move very, very fast into the future with the data. And one of the things we're going to talk about later is personalization, especially from a customer standpoint, how important that's going to be. And it's really difficult to do that if you don't have clean data. Farah?
Yeah, I think between both of you covered quite a lot. I just want to introduce myself quickly. I'm Farah from Databricks. I take care of the commercial accounts for both Malaysia and Indonesia. And maybe I just want to share what I see from working with a lot of customers, right? A lot of customers across many different industries. I think in retail specifically, data is going to be extremely important because you are in most cases, B2C business, which means that, a business to customer business. So it means that you would have a lot of customer data. And customer data is usually the one which is quite, I guess, fragmented. The quality is quite hard. My inputs would be probably work backwards, understand what is it you want to do as a business. So what is the end goal in mind? What is the end state? And I will cover some of these in my presentation as well. Some of the retailers I speak to, for example, they want to do customer lifetime value. They want to do churn prediction for specific customers. They want to do real-time point of sale analytics, propensity scoring, supply chain management, demand forecasting. So that's their end goal in mind. And when you have that end goal, I think it's about working backwards, how you can achieve that, right? And so when you look backwards, then it would be, of course, having that AI in place, all those AI machine learning models in place. But of course, before that, the AI only works as well as your data is. So it's as we say, it's always garbage in, garbage out, right? So if your data is not clean, it's not cleaned up in the first place, you're going to get bad results. So if you look at what I've mentioned, think about the use case in mind, work backwards to the ML models that you will need to implement, but also then you have to start at the data, which I think Danny and Ahmar has covered a lot. Yeah, over to you, Miran.
Absolutely, absolutely agreed upon, and quite well alluded both all of the panelists, right, on the importance of data. Now, when we talk about data, of course, you have the data in one place. You create a very fair understanding of your business and your customers. What next, right? And we see customer engagement is one of the burning topics these days. Customer engagement, customer experience. Now, and when we talk about customer experience, along with AI coming in, 2025 looks really promising because lot of things are happening in this space, specifically both combining CX and AI, together. So what do you think, what are the technological advancements on the customer engagement journey that you see that is upcoming for 2025 and that retailers should focus on or should, think about implementing in their organization? Yeah. Over to you, Ahmar.
Okay. Yep. Good. So Miran, again, very, very, I would say, interesting area, which is customer engagement, right? And both Farah and Danny kind of alluded to it couple of minutes back. Right. When it comes to customer engagement, definitely, at Loyalytics, again, because we are customer engagement and loyalty experts, we kind of, that is our forte, right? We work with, again, retailers across the globe, different varying sizes and shapes, to help them cement their customer strategy, right? With the advent of AI, right, and everything that we are seeing around chatbots and LLMs, I think customer engagement is one area within retail that's going to be massively impacted. How would it be impacted, and what do we see happening there? To begin with, customer service is an area which is already seeing, I would say, a lot of impact, or all in the positive way, right? Gone are the days where you would kind of talk to boring IVRs, robotic sounding systems which do not really understand you as a customer, right? Retailers are kind of moving to intelligent agents, right? Intelligent customer service bots, who are able to really answer customer queries, not only in real time, but also provide a lot more context to the customers in terms of whatever queries they have, whatever questions they have, right? So definitely one area where I see a lot of change coming in is around customer service. And definitely, I would say it is an area where, as retailers, we should definitely focus on. And again, the journey from where we are right now to a fully automated AI customer service agent is again something that's not going to happen in a day, right? So that is something that we need to understand, and I think that's a continuous theme that we will talk about in this webinar, that things will take some time, but I think what is important is for us as retailers and as business leaders is to understand that that is the way to go in future, and we should start now, right? So if I was a retailer, for example, and I want to start changing or bringing in newer technologies like AI in my customer service, I should start now, and what are the things that I should start doing, right? That is important. The second area, I would say, around customer engagement, and Danny mentioned and talked about it, is personalization, right? And personalization everywhere, right? We talk about customer segments, we talk about right product recommendations to the right customer. ultimately, the desire is always to kind of reach segment of one, right? And what I mean by segment of one is being able to truly personalize every interaction for every customer out there, right? It is easier said than done, right? As B2C retailers, we are dealing with millions of customer interactions every day, right? How do you make sure that you are truly giving out the right sort of information, context, products, offers, whatever it may be, to your customers in real time, that kind of help make their journey easy, right? So I would say personalization, and yes, customer service by the use of AI based chatbots and LLMs are two main areas that I see evolve a lot in 2025 as we move ahead and as we experiment more with AI. I think there was a question or a comment on personalization.
Yep. So Mohit has asked a question, personalization still remains theme for CX, whether product or service. How far can customization go via AI while keeping privacy?
No, absolutely very valid point, Mohit, and that is what I refer to, that, personalization definitely remains a key theme. And I think it will remain a key theme in the next few years to come as well. Data privacy is definitely a core component of whatever we do, and it kind of goes beyond just customer data, right? It is any data that the enterprise is working with. We will I think in my presentation and Farah's slides as well, we will cover a bit around data security challenges and how do we mitigate them, while we start off our AI journey. But yes, it is very important to kind of be sure that all these experiments that we are doing with AI, data security has to be at the center of all of this.
Yeah, I can just jump in on this one. I think when you look at customization, it's not a new concept, right? I mean, think about some of the industry leaders in retail that did customer personalization and customization. I think, of course, you would know Amazon. I think they are probably one of the earliest with their recommendation engine. You see a product, and then you can actually see recommended products that you may also like. And I think they were one of the first to go to market with this and very successful in this. I mean, it also comes down to sort of what is the level of customization. Of course, if you're dealing with, some personal information, there are ways that you can actually have very strong data governance and also data security and privacy in place. So what I mean by that is it starts with the data, right? So you have the governance on it, such that whatever it's used upstream, so meaning if you're using it even in AI models, even in machine learning models upstream, you're able to actually control what access to which data the model should have and should not have. And of course, like how you decide to present the information back. There are some guardrails that you can put in place to make sure that these AI models, of course, don't hallucinate, but also don't reveal any proprietary information or any PII information that they should not. I'll cover this a little bit as well.
Yeah. And I'll just like to add one more point. Farah, and you rightly said that, personalization honestly is nothing new. It's been existing, and retailers have been doing this for a while now. I remember, I was working for Target Corporation, right? The one of the biggest retailers in the US, and way back in 2011, I think almost 15 years back or so now, right? It makes me, look old and feel old. But I remember, way back in 2011, we were working on some customer personalization, where actually Target was able to accurately figure out that in a household, there was a girl who was expecting a baby. So she was pregnant, and the family did not know for some reasons, but Target knew because they were able to kind of figure out, basis her transactions, right, that the kind of products that she was picking up in a basket, some creams and some medicines and all of that, that there is something up here, right? And they sent out a communication to that household, and it kind of became a major PR disaster, way back. And as a company, Target had to do a lot of, I would say, cleaning up the mess, right? So what I'm trying to kind of get to is that communication, Mohit, to your point also, is very, very important, right? How are we really communicating it back to the customer so that it does not sound creepy, it does not sound or comes across as invasion of privacy, is also very, very important, right? So we need to be very careful as retailers. We might know a lot of things, but how much of that do we really share with the end user, and how much of that do we use, and what sort of communication we use also is very, very important. So, interesting to kind of look at all these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before Danny, you jump in, I have a question that is also, kind of related. So, for example, now when we see a talk about all of these different new solutions, technology, recommendation systems, and all of that, it always comes a question of, budget, right? And retailers considering, they work with different margins, and in certain cases, specifically grocery retailers, they have a lower margin, and there is always a question of how much they should invest on all of these new solutions and technologies. And ultimately, it boils down to the question of whether build versus buy, right? Whether we should build it in-house or whether we should, buy a solution from a third-party vendor, right? So would love to hear your thoughts, Danny, because you had been in a similar situation multiple times earlier when you were looking for vendors out there, or you were, looking for solutions out there for the organizations that you were working for. Would love to hear your thoughts, and what do you think should be the strategy for retailers going forward?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I've done both. I've looked at third party. I've built or been involved in third party, and also built it in-house. And this is a complex subject because everything goes back to cost, of course. What's the upfront cost? Unfortunately, most businesses look at the upfront cost when they look at third party, and when they look at internal, they think, well, this is part of my ongoing or OPEX, et cetera. So I'll use my internal staff. But what happens, unfortunately, most companies don't really realize what they do need. What's going to give them the biggest benefit in the end. You can ask, and I've done this, I've asked merchants, I've asked CEOs, I've asked CFOs, operational team, what data do you need? Everybody usually comes back with the same type of answers. They just want basic sales information. They don't realize the other tools that are available, and I call it tools because when you look at third party, such as what we can offer retailers and other businesses, there's a I guess a stable of opportunities there that is beyond what a company internally can build. And usually when you build it internally, you can do it within a couple of months. And what you end up with is, as stated earlier, primarily garbage. Or you can build it within a year, 2 years, 5 years, but you're never in front of the customer trends, what the customer expects. Also, most companies don't have the ability to pull together the omni-channel, all the touch points that a customer has. And as we alluded to the fact earlier about the personalization, how important is personalization, it's not only impacting the physical customer that's in the store, but it's also the omni-channel customer shopping online, also impacting the social media contact point as well. But going back to building this in-house versus going to a third party, again, I've been in this business many years, started e-commerce in the US with the in-house system, finally ended up going to a third party because they had much more knowledge than we had internally. The same thing here in Indonesia with several companies. It sounds like I'm pushing third party. I am, honestly, because I've had the experience. I know that it's not going to building this in-house is going to be a long process. And also with a third party is constantly updated, especially now with the AI moving so fast. And unfortunately, most IT in retail is not that involved in AI. They're not involved in strategy going forward. What they're involved in is the infrastructure, maintaining the infrastructure, the computers, the processing systems and so forth, but it's not really development. So it's better, again, to go to a third party. Ron, back to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
Miran, I can come in here. I just have a few thoughts around prioritizing AI investments, so as to say, right? And it's a very common, I would say, conundrum that businesses would face, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're investing something in any new technology, you'll have to have a justification for ROI, right? You cannot just go to the board and say, okay, I want to do this fancy thing without having a very clear justification of what is it, what are the benefits that are going to come out of this, right? I think the best way to do it, and we spoke about it in our last webinar as well, is don't try to boil the ocean, right? Don't try to do too many things together at the same time. While it is always very tempting to build this really huge digital transformation, data transformation plan that is running into 5 years, right? Year one, year two, all of that, which is all great, right? Because planning is important. But I think for us to get started as retailers, we got to start small, right? Pick up a use case, right? It could be in any area, right? It could be if you already have customer data, for example, you already have a loyalty program, you're collecting customer information, you're doing some basic customer insights, and you want to progress on that, you want to advance that, pick up that area, right? As Farah said, if it's, say, for example, if it's about demand forecasting, you want to have, you want to more scientifically uh, predict your demand and therefore manage your inventory better, pick up that area, right? So it's very important to pick up the use case. And then for that particular use case, set up a small experiment, right? Define it as clearly as you can along with the business, and make sure that there are the measures of success are very clearly defined right at the beginning, so that the stakeholders are all aligned, right? We'll have to understand one thing: AI is still an evolving field, so as to say, right? AI is definitely great, but we also need to keep in mind that as of now, as we stand today, LLMs, large language models, which we particularly kind of refer to as AI, are not really, the best solution for every problem out there, right? So I think that understanding and that nuance is also important. What is it that you're trying to solve, and how are you going to be doing it, and how are you going to be setting up a small experiment to get started? I think is very, very important. And once you can show value, right? Once you show value in one area, it is always easy to expand that further and move into that larger plan, the grand vision that you might have. Yeah.
If I can continue with that discussion also, I think it is very important, as stated, that you do have again, you have to have a strategy, but don't try to do everything at one time, because it will absolutely will fail. There's no doubt. You have to pick your parts. It's going to give you the, as everyone likes to say in Indonesia, the low-hanging fruit. What's going to give you the biggest payback? But again, you've got to look at the tools available. How do those tools fit within your organization? Because you also have to think about the capabilities of your people. Where are the gaps in your people and the gaps that you need to fill before you go forward with this? Because personalization is extremely important now. As we know, retail is very challenging. We need all the tools possible to make us successful as we go into a very challenging, what everyone thinks is going to be a challenge in 2025, basically. So we need all the tools possible to get us there. And we already know from the surveys that customers are tired of getting hit with so many messages. There's so much noise out there. It's coming through, whether it's email, WhatsApp, text messages, phone calls, etc. The advertising through social media and so forth. They're getting fatigued because of this. So the personalization is extremely important. You can call it hyper personalization, you can call it targeted personalization, whatever, but this is going to be the key for the future. And a lot of the data that we have now, retailers have, is a phone number and a name, and that's it. They don't have a lot of detail. They don't have transactional data and so forth. But that's where, and a lot of companies have asked us, how do we get that information from the customer that we need to really do a refined marketing campaign? You've got to give incentives to the customers to give you data, to give you the data that you need for your type of business. Every business has its own set of challenges. Every business has its own strategy and so forth. So based around that strategy, what information do you need to be able to personalize this, whether it's omni-channel again, et cetera. But it's easy. It's easy to put a plan together. It's difficult to execute, as we know.
Yeah.
So anyway, going back, personalization is going to be the strategy I think that we all have to focus on going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with all of these AI coming in and everything, personalization is something definitely that we are looking at for 2025, right? Without further ado, since we have a limited time, we would like to move on to the next segment of our discussion, wherein Ahmar will have a quick keynote 10-minute presentation for us, talking about the trends that we have currently going out on retail at this point of time, and what does the roadmap look like for 2025 from this perspective. Over to you, Ahmar.
Sure, Miran. I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know. Okay, it's still the same thing, right? You can't see my screen, or can you?
It's black. Probably I can share it if that's fine.
I don't know why does this happen, because it happened the last time as well. Let me just maybe just give me one more second, and then if it does not happen, then maybe you can share it around. Can you guys see it now? Or is still
It's still black.
okay, Miran? Then yeah, let's not waste time. Maybe you can share your screen. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
You can go to your Okay, cool. Okay, so once again, guys, thank you very much for being here today. What we intend to do in the next 10 to 15 minutes max is to just take you through our point of view around customer engagement and retail scenarios, particularly in 2025. What are some of the challenges that retailers are facing as we move to a new year? And how can AI and data analytics help, right? So yeah, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so before we get to the themes that we are observing in the marketplace right now, a quick word around Loyalytics. We mentioned about it right at the beginning. We are a data science and AI analytics company. Work with retailers of all shapes and sizes across the globe. Right, whether it is grocery, hypermarket, fashion, pharma, wellness. We are more than a decade old as an organization, and customer engagement, loyalty programs, personalization are some of the core things that we do at Loyalytics, right? And we heavily leverage data and analytics and help retailers, our clients, to be able to leverage data and analytics to improve their business outcomes. That is what we do. Right, moving very quickly to what are some of the current trends or themes that we are observing in the retail industry. First of all, economic uncertainties, right? And again, this is something which is, I would say, very easy to understand, because we are also all consumers at some stage, right? Because of inflation, rising costs, there is a lot of pressure on customer baskets, especially if you look at grocery retail, and we work with a lot of grocery retailers. They are facing the pressure of lower basket sizes, right? Lower ATVs, and all of that is, of course, leading to issues in profitability. So, economic uncertainties is definitely a core theme. Conscious consumption is again something that is very, very relevant these days. Customers are really interested in not just the products that you're offering, but also very interested in the backstory behind the product, right? So for example, if you're a fashion retailer, how sustainable are your supply chain practices, right? They want to truly understand how is this garment made, from where you are sourcing it, right? Is it carbon neutral or not? So I think conscious consumption, both around fashion as well as in grocery, is a big theme, and we as retailers, need to keep this in mind. Moving on, hyper personalization. I think we talked about it, enough already. And this is going to be, as I said earlier, right? This was a theme 10 years back. This probably is going to be a theme 10 years down the line as well. But the fact is, using data, using AI, using technology, the more we can personalize our interactions with our customers, the better it is, right? So hyper personalization remains a key theme for retailers. Another interesting, thing which is happening is, of course, e-commerce is not new, but e-commerce coupled with social commerce, right, live commerce, especially in a market like Indonesia, is gaining a lot of traction, and also something which is, nowadays called as quick commerce, right, where customers' expectation are really that they're going to get products within 10 minutes, 15 minutes of placing an order, right? All of that, of course, is adding a lot of pressure on your logistics. It's adding a lot of pressure on your delivery cost, and all of that, right? Whether it is economic uncertainties, the investment in technology to get to hyper personalization, e-commerce, social commerce, quick commerce, all of that is leading to a lot of pressure on profitability. So the last point is around profitability challenges, right? Of course, with rising energy costs, with a lot of disruption in supply chains happening because of whatever is happening in the world around us, all of this is leading to squeezing margins, right? And therefore it becomes all the more important for retailers to make sure that they use technology to get to operational efficiencies, right? Very, very, very important. So these are some of the common themes and trends that we are seeing. Very quickly, right? We wanted to put in a slide around an AI roadmap. We don't usually talk about it this early, right, in our presentation, but because this webinar was more around, how do we plan for AI and data investments in 2025, we thought we'll kind of get to it. Miran, you can just, use all the five, yeah. So, the first one is, of course, around data foundation, right? Very, very important. Data is at the core of whatever we might or might not be able to do in the AI space, right? So the first thing is get your data in order, right? Once you have like some sort of a enterprise data platform, which is cloud native, which can support all your different tools and technologies, you can start off by building, basic analytics and predictive insights, right? You can then move on to more of operational automations, right? We talked about Gen AI particularly, right? How can you use Gen AI in automating some of the operational workflows that are there in the organization, right? There are already news of retailers who have significantly reduced their customer service cost, operational cost, by leveraging Gen AI. So I think these are things that as retailers we need to kind of focus on. Also, as I said earlier, it's important to identify or select what are some of the high impact AI use cases that we want to work on, right? And then kind of work backwards. Basically, for this to happen, what is it that I need, and then work accordingly. And last but not the least, and something which gets missed out very often is having the right team, the right skill sets needed to bring this, as I say, culture change, right? Because we are not used to working in this manner, and therefore any as a retailer, if I'm thinking about C-suite executive, if I'm thinking about it, it needs to have a plan of upskilling, reskilling our team, and making sure that there is this constant culture of experimentation and learning in the organization for us to be able to see benefits down the line. Okay, Miran, we can move ahead. I think I'll have to do better on time. In terms of improving profitability, because that was one of the core thing that we are seeing in terms of challenges that the retailers are facing. Customer engagement, of course, personalization, leverage AI, leverage technology, make sure that we are giving the right sort of experiences, the right sort of engagement to our customers, because all of that lead to increase in basket size, increase in ATV, increase in your revenues, right? Pricing is another area which is often overlooked, I would say, not given a lot of importance. But there was a recent study by Accenture, if I remember it correctly, that said that if you are really doing data-driven pricing, if you're looking at price elasticities, you're right, if you're looking at your customer segments and you're then pricing your products, just a 1% increase in your prices could lead to almost an 11 to 12% increase in your profits. All right, and that is very, very important. So data-driven pricing again is very important. It's a very, I would say, deep field in itself, and we would love to talk about it hopefully sometime later as well. But it's important to keep in mind that there's a lot of value that can be derived out of this. I think I already spoke about operational efficiencies using Gen AI. Right, as retailers, we should start thinking about picking up some of these use cases and seeing how we can get value. Planning, right, whether it is around assortment or promotions, again, very, very important. Merchandising, of course, is the core of retail, but still it's largely, how do I say, not data driven, but gut driven, and largely driven by our existing relationship with our suppliers and vendors, right? That needs to change. Our buyers, our category managers need to be more, how do I say, aligned with data and use data in the entire planning process. And last but not the least, there is a very important area of revenue generation that is coming up in retail, which is called retail media monetization or retail data monetization, right? As retailers, we have a lot of data, as I said in the beginning as well. The quality of that can be suspect, but we have a lot of data. And this data can actually be really useful if it can be aggregated in the right way and then shared with our suppliers like the Nestle's, the Unilevers, the P&Gs on the grocery side, and other big fashion players, on the fashion and the lifestyle side. So basically with our suppliers and vendors, and this itself is a multi-million-dollar additional revenue opportunity for retailers, right? So these are important areas that you need to be careful about, and you need to plan for as we move into the new year. In terms of, again, very quickly, we have a couple of slides on each of these areas. So when it comes to customer engagement, AI-driven customer engagement, it's important to start off with collecting customer data. So you got to have a loyalty program, right? If you don't have a loyalty program, you should definitely think about having some sort of an incentive for the customer to share their information with you. Once you have customer data, you think about customer data platform, CDP, you think about, a real-time engagement platform like Swan AI, which is again our core customer engagement platform, continuous measurement and optimization. So it's a cycle, right? But the idea is to be able to infuse data into each and every customer interaction that we are having with our customers. Next on, I think I already spoke about pricing. So Miran, we can skip this. Yes, planning and assortment, promotion, very, very important. The only thing that I would want to say here is, traditionally in retail, when we are talking about assortment, when we are talking about promotions, it's largely product driven, right? That is the normal, course of thinking, right? But the change that we are trying to emphasize here is that as retailers, we will have to bring the customer at the center of decision making, right? When we are thinking about what promotions to run in a category, we think about the customers who are, buying from that category. What are their needs and wants, and what is it that they want, right? When we are thinking about assortment to keep in a category, we think about the customer. Pricing, inventory, every important merchandising decision in the retail has to be done keeping the customer at the center of decision making. This is again easier said than done. This is not the way traditional retail operates or works, but this is what is I would say sure shot formula for success in the long run. Miran, you can move ahead. Yeah, I think we can skip this as well. I already spoke about it. Gen AI. Yeah. In terms of adding new revenue stream, again, this is basically, insights as a service. This is again something that can lead to millions of dollars in additional revenue and GP for any retailer, and is a very upcoming area in retail. And something which is kind of completely defined by your ability in terms of data systems, analytics, and AI, right? So very, very important area, and something that I would request our viewers to kind of keep in mind. At Loyalytics, what is it that we do? We help, of course. Our forte is customer engagement, so we help our retailers increase customer lifetime value through AI. We help retailers increase their gross profit through promo pricing and assortment strategies. And lastly, of course, we also have a platform for insights or data monetization, where we are working with some really big enterprise grocery retailers and helping them monetize all of the data that they have. Okay, I think that is it. I hope I was within time, and I hope it was useful. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Ahmar.
Thanks, Ahmar, for the quick, outline for 2025. Over to you, Farah, for your presentation.
Sure, I'll take about 10 minutes to run through this. Mostly like an introduction to Databricks, but also some of what recapping some of what we've already discussed earlier. So what Databricks actually does is we help to modernize the data and AI architecture. And in the context of retail, of course, it's, how do we actually set it up for our next gen customer experience? So primarily, we are a data and AI company. We manage everything on the data side, from ingestion, engineering, analytics, pushing it into visualization. But we also have that AI, so artificial intelligence, and also machine learning layer on top of it. And also, if you're interested in generative AI, which is the next wave, using large language models, like ChatGPT, for example, or some of the Meta Llama and all that, Databricks also does provide those. So a quick introduction. Essentially, though for a very young company, we have invented a couple of things, such as the data lakehouse concept, and we are pioneer in generative AI. On the right-hand side here, you see a number of logos. These are open source creations by Databricks itself. And a lot of it, we've actually opened it up. So you have millions of developers using all these different products so that you're not locked in to a certain platform, for example, if you want to use different platforms in the future. So that's what we are. And what we actually help is, with retailers specifically, asking why customer experience, right? So that's CX. So essentially, if you look at some of the stats here, we know that customer experience in the context of retail is extremely important, because consumers, they walk away from a brand after a bad experience, or they really focus on the customer experience that a company provides, right? So some of the stats that you can see here actually really pushes forth why you as a retailer needs to focus on that, I think. And that's not new. That's what we've been talking about so far on this call. But essentially, in order to do customer experience, it then comes back to the data and AI that we've spoken a lot about. And some of what has been looked into with regards to that would be, the different items here as you see on the screen. And we've talked about it as well. These are the use case examples that a lot of retailers want to do. And of course, in order to do that, you need that data and AI foundation in place, right? What's top of mind? Indeed, personalization. I think we've talked about it quite a lot. How do you actually deliver that to customers? Increasingly, it's also about how do you, find new revenue sources, and how do you reduce operating costs? And those would also come from, monetization of your data, for example, of your channels, for example. Innovations that can help increase revenue, but at the same time, some of these innovations drive down the cost of operations in your company. So I would say these three pillars are what we see many retailers want to do. And as you're planning for 2025, you can consider, what is your company doing in each of these different pillars, right? In order to drive those, top line, bottom line growth. So how to go about doing it? Again, as I mentioned, data and AI is the foundation, and it will define this next generation of customer experience. So you need to get the data and AI foundation right, because why? It all starts from the data, like I said, and we've mentioned it, right? You have huge volumes of data coming in. It's not humanly possible to sort through all that data now, because there's just millions of data points coming in every single, minute, hour, even every single second it's coming in, right? If you have multiple point of sales, multiple commerce channels. So you do need AI on top to make sense of it, to find the patterns and generate insight. It's not humanly possible anymore. So then this is where, indeed, you need to have the data in place and the AI in place. And when you have that in place, this is where this is a good reference for you in terms of the maturity that we see a lot of customers taking. They start from very basic things like reports, queries, analytics, that's fine, data exploration. But where it starts to get really interesting, when you have data scientists and you start to do AI, you go into predictive modeling, you go into analytics, you go into automated decision making. And this is what is going to really help to scale. But of course, you need that data in place, and then you need that foundation of that data to build upon and have the relevant personas like, your data scientists, your machine learning practitioners who are able to help you with these things. And if you're not, then, that's why companies like Loyalytics are there to actually assist you with this process in terms of data maturity, while Databricks actually provides that platform. Okay. What are the challenges that we see? I showed this curve. This is where IT, teams would rate themselves. They think that, okay, they are pretty much in the center of the curve. They're able to actually go up. But if you look at the marketing teams, they think that they're lower in the curve. So there's clearly this silos, right, between IT and marketing. And I think if you want to sort of move as a company, you need to bridge this kind of silos and bring everyone up the curve in terms of maturity. So you need to break down those internal silos in terms of where data lives, who has access to the data. And as a company, I think you need to collaborate on that data and AI to push it up the curve, right? Because clearly you see that there is that disparity here. So what is some of the challenges that we've already discussed? Indeed, you would see all the sources of data. There are so many. This is not the full list. And every company would have even more, whether it's sitting on a cloud or whether it's sitting on premises, point of sales, whichever it is. So all these data sources, the challenges would be all these that are listed here, whether it's fragmentation, it's stuck, it's legacy technology that's not been updated in 20 years, moving into this predictive environment with AI, ML, and the real-time capabilities. So all these are definitely clear challenges. But if you are able to bridge this, the use cases on the right are things that you can do. And again, as mentioned, sometimes customers, they begin with the use case in mind. They want to do this, and they know they have to fix the data and AI platform. So the solution that comes in is, firstly, definitely build that strong foundation of the data. We've discussed this quite a lot. We even talked about data governance. Data warehousing is where you store all the data. Once you have that in place, you can actually support new capabilities. So the AI ML comes after that, only after you've built that data foundation. And then you can actually start to integrate with ecosystems, right? Other ecosystems where you potentially want to monetize, where you potentially want to add in external sources of data, you can do that. So I would say this would be like the 3 steps that you would have to take. And definitely Databricks, Loyalytics, we're able to assist you in the process of these 3 steps. So indeed, we're a data and AI company. Why trust us? In the data space, very quickly, you would see that we are a leader in the data lakehouse space, which is the forefront of a data lake and data warehouse combined. So we're first in that area. And in the space of AI, we are also a leader in that space. You can see us in the quadrant, along with very big leaders like Microsoft, Google, AWS, and all that. So you know that you're in good hands if you do decide to explore Databricks as a technology. So just very quickly, we take all of your data, we put it into one platform, that we call the data intelligence platform, and that's governed, that's unified, that's secure. And from there, you can start doing your different use cases, right? Whichever it is, we can work with you on that one. And also Loyalytics, their solutions actually built on top of this as a ready-made solution. So as a next step, now these are some of the things that you can consider doing if you are looking to have the next gen customer experience. Of course, like following the steps that I mentioned, you have to make sure the foundations are in place. But once you do that, you can indeed, do things like data clean rooms, finding your audience, understanding your audience, right, the insights, and activating it with a composable CDP. So you can actually do that. And we've done that with many companies across the world, many different sizes, all different types of industries. These are some of the examples in terms of the revenue uplift or the decision making or the engagement results that they're able to achieve from having that data and AI platform in place. So if you're feeling if you feel like AI is actually a bit difficult, actually it doesn't have to be, because it's getting easier over time. Even someone like me, not very technical, there are a lot of accelerators out there, and also a lot of built-on platforms like Loyalytics, right, that actually already can do this. Instead of building it yourself, if you just want to get started, if you just want to buy, they already exist. So you don't have to start from scratch with some of these. So it's not as daunting as it seems. Okay. So that's it from Databricks. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me and we'll send on the contact details so you can get in touch with us if you're keen. Okay, back to you, Miran.
Thanks a lot for the quick presentation. So we have a quick question from Mohit, two questions specifically. One is, in current scenario when market is challenging, how cost effective is integrating AI with existing solution company has? And second is there a way to reduce dependency on large data set for AI? So Ahmar or Farah, any one of you, would you like to take this?
Yeah, I can go for it, Miran. Thanks, Mohit, for another interesting question, right? I'd like to go to the second question first, right, which is about, is there any way to reduce dependence on large data set for AI? Again, Mohit, I would say depends on what you're trying to do. Right. My hypothesis here is that most of what you would want to do would be based on your internal data, right? So whether it is, let's say, let's take the use case of internal, let's say, employee queries around HR processes and all, and you want to automate all of that, right? And you want to basically build on top of an already available LLM and feed in your data. So in that case, the size of the data is basically limited to whatever you can have, right? Right. In some of the other cases, you might want to leverage publicly available information or data, which can then, of course, be huge. So I would say it kind of depends upon what sort of use case you have, right? The good thing is that we don't really see as businesses, we don't have to really start from scratch, right? Folks like Databricks, folks like, of course, OpenAI, some of the foundational models, companies that have built these foundational models have already done a lot of hard work, right? I've already kind of, in a way, set up the foundation for us to now leverage that. What we'll have to do as business practitioners, I would say, is identify what is it that our use case is, right? And try and leverage some of these already available foundational models, so as to say, or platforms, and then build on top of that. So there's no need to, reinvent the wheel. Use whatever is already available and build on top of that. The data size would again depend upon what kind of problems are we trying to exactly solve. So that is how I would answer question 2. In terms of one, in the current scenario, how cost effective it is to integrate AI with the existing solution. Again, there's no one answer to this, Mohit. As I said, most of the time, when we go to our board to start off a new project, we'll have to do some sort of a cost benefit analysis, right? In terms of seeing, okay, if I get this right, right, if by implementing this AI into my existing workflow, what are the benefits that I'm seeing, right? And if I can kind of make up that case, with whatever data I have, I think it makes sense to go for it, right? The only thing that we'll have to also think about is not everything is going to be ROI positive right at the very beginning. So, we will have to also think about that for us to remain relevant, in the foreseeable future, there are things that we need to do now, which might not be ROI positive as of now, but would definitely help us 3 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line. So I think that mindset is also very, very important as we are thinking about building something in this space. So that is what I would say. I hope I was able to answer that. But yeah, I would love anybody else's thoughts as well.
Maybe Mohit, I can share an analogy that my customer actually shares with me. They always say like they are a team of 20, but they have like 200 employees. And the only reason they're able to do that scale, because of AI. For example, the analysis that they come to, but also they've started to use generative AI. It's actually scaling their business to beyond the 20 employees that they have. And they're able to, scale massively by investing in it, such that they don't have to hire as many people. So I know it is an investment in that case, but it's also, they see it as like they would have paid additional salaries of 180 people, for example, to do the same work, the same heavy lifting that AI or customer support or which chatbots are actually doing, and also the productivity gains that they have in it. I think based on I've worked in multiple markets, I work across ASEAN before. I do recognize that in Indonesia and Malaysia, especially, retailers are very cost sensitive. The margins are low, but also labor is very cheap. So that's why they don't mind hiring more people. I think that's also a blocker to investing, because if labor is so cheap, just hire people instead of investing in AI. But I think if you're looking at the kind of scale that you want to grow 10x, 20x, I think it's just not possible to just hire more people at some stage. You do need to invest in that AI and that have that ROI. And I think the second question in terms of reducing dependence on large data set, I would say I recommend customers just put in whatever data they have access in first, because it's continual work in process. As long as the data is clean and it's available, just have it there and see what insights you can get out of it. And of course, if you want to continually improve the results of your AI, then having more and more data sets, data sources in there helps. So I think you don't have to have 0 to 100 straight away. Maybe even if you have like 20, 30%, I think just get started on those and see what you can get, and then continue to work on the process.
Yep. And just one more point to add to what Farah already said, right? So it's not just cost efficiencies that you get using AI, right? So of course there are cost efficiencies, but it's also about better solutions, right? Could a team of, you can, for all that, you have the money, you could tomorrow go and hire 50 people, but can those 50 people actually give you an equally sophisticated, good product or a solution that maybe an AI model can? That also is something that you will have to think about, right? Because the way that things are progressing, I think the quality is also something which is at another level, and it's really difficult for us to kind of compete with that kind of outcomes, that we are seeing. So it's not just about cost, it's also about quality, it's also about the impact that you are able to create using some of these new technologies.
It's also about quality of people as well. It's better to have one quality person versus 10 people that are just doing pulling data.
Absolutely. Cool.
Thank you so much, for the explanation, for the questions, and thank you so much for to all our guests today for sparing out time for this session. We had a great webinar, and we would love to hear out more questions from you if you have any, and we'd love to get into discussions. Feel free to drop any questions or any clarifications that you need into the emails that is shared on the chat box. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Farah. Thanks, Ahmar, once again for your time, into this session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And thank all the participants today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Bye.
Bye.